Good
Hello,
evening. Good evening to you.
MJ. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Well, welcome again, viewers, to our show, The Biz Talk. So tonight I'm with our very pretty Tita Testuazon as a co-host. So we're gonna have a really nice show. As you all know, we are live on YouTube and Facebook Live. So join us again for tonight for a very exciting and very special guest. So, what have you been doing, Tita Tess?
Not much. I've been just home and
Mm-hmm.
doing the nothing but play mahjong and be with the chamber.
All right, so you're just been chillaxing, right? Chilling and relaxing. That's a new
Sort
word.
of, sort of.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, our show is brought to you by PACC Texas Greater Houston Region and Roof Chamber Radio Pinoy. And if you missed our live show tonight, don't worry, because you can or you can listen to our podcast, which is going to be at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, and Listen Notes. So don't worry about missing it. But of course, we want you to join us live, right, Tita?
Yes, of course. And tonight we have a special guest. Of course, he is our PACC member,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Zedrick Buhay, who is the CEO of Mercury Clinical Research, Buhay Health and Wellness, and the operations officer for IPR Healthcare System. Welcome to our Biz Talk, Cedric.
Hello, hi, good evening. Good evening,
There
MJ.
you
Good evening,
are.
Tita Tess. How are you two beautiful ladies? And thank you guys for having me.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. You're a very, very special guest, a very young entrepreneur at that, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and
So, mm-hmm.
we're
I
so
don't feel
happy
like it
that
anymore.
yeah, we're so happy that you found time to join us for the Biz Talk, and we want to know more about you, and so are the audience. So we will talk about your Filipino background, being with the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, how still being a Filipino is celebrated in your home, and how you got to be in this business, and so on and so forth.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and talking about the Filipino culture, definitely I find that very important and close to my heart. I was raised in the Philippines, born in the Philippines. Now, majority of my life now has been here in the States. Again, thank you guys for having me. My name is Zedrick Buhay, and I was born in Quezon City, Manila, QC, Manila, uh, and stayed there for 7 years before moving to Houston when I was seven, 92, and been in Houston ever since. You know, I try to go back at least once a year. And in fact, in my college years, now wife, back then girlfriend, went to school, actually did her nursing over there in the Philippines. So I definitely made it back over there at least twice, sometimes three times a year. So it was a trek going back and forth, but it was worth it because not just to see, obviously, not wife, but also just to see the culture and the changes and everything that's been happening over there. And there's definitely been quite a bit of changes, since we left. But as far as the culture, I mean, it's so important in my opinion, especially as an immigrant coming over here um, from someone in the Philippines and having a business now, knowing the different foundations and values and values both in ethical values and business values that they have, coming from the Philippines. It's a you know the Filipino culture is very servitude type of a culture, and you always want to respect your elders and be kind to those around you. Um,
Yes.
and that I think that shows uh, a lot of weight in both just the world as far as the relationships and also the business world. And I think you can go a long way in having those values, from the Philippines. So
Yeah. Do you have kids?
yeah, yeah. So have two rambunctious boys,
Oh my
and
gosh. How old are
one.
they?
Yeah, the first is going to turn 5 in a couple weeks now, and then
Mhm.
the second just turned 1. And so 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. So
Oh, you kind of started late.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we definitely tried to have kids. Had our challenges at first, but with God's grace and blessings, that we were able to have the two,
Mhm.
and now they're just literally running all over our lives. So
So how
His
do you think, yeah, how do you think you would raise them up with the Filipino culture?
yeah, MJ, that's
Yeah.
a great question, and that's actually not just a great question, but
Huh?
a daily challenge of
Uh-huh.
mine, because I was raised from parents with the Filipino culture and very strict, very end goal oriented. What are you going to be when you grow up? If you're not a doctor, you're not anything. So
Mhm.
very very strict mentality, but at the same time, always with the notion of showing kindness and showing love and respect for
Mhm.
those around you, especially the elders. So now today, that's a great question, MJ, because today it's a lot different, with the um, how quick everything is with social media and the instant gratification that everyone's expecting. How can you show that you have patience when you expect to have something the next second, literally in a click of a button? So
Mhm.
how can you show that? So um, I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic, and I think one of the good things that, in any case, I think can show this is having a foundation with something that's above yourself. Kind of, it definitely helps.
Oh
So
yes.
that helps with that foundation that grounds myself and grounds hopefully my kids as well. And being able to show that, and as a good example, I think that in a way you can help guide them to have those same values and characteristics. And I mean, of course, you always want to show and introduce them to your titos and your titas and your lolos and your lolas, to have them explain how things were back home. But definitely a challenge, and I think that's a great question because it's a challenging question and something that I have to deal with every single day.
Yeah.
and
And
of course, with her with Zedrick is his dear wife Myra.
mhm.
Yes, of
Myra
course. I can't
Ocon-
can't can't do this without my rock with Myra
Yes, of
without Myra.
course. Yeah. Yeah, you were just talking about, you have to involve or like use spiritual parenting,
Yeah,
you're not gonna go wrong when you do that, because that's the only way you're gonna be able to protect your children from all this worldly stuff and grow them as good people, and help them grow up with their full potential, is just practicing spiritual parenting, and there's joy to that. So yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with you on
yeah,
that one.
absolutely. And like I said, I'm Catholic. I'm a devout Catholic and Christian, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be
Mhm. Yes.
any religion,
Yeah.
something that's bigger than yourself,
Yes.
that allows an individual to not hold their value on something materialistic and hold their value on something that's tangible, but instead hold their value to something that's above themselves.
Oh yes, there's so much wisdom to that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that, right, Tita?
and
Yeah, well, we have old kids. That's why we've been there, done that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
also helps that his dad is
Mhm.
a Catholic deacon.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, that definitely helps the cause. Deacon
That's
Charlie
good.
Buhay.
Yeah. So far, Tita Tess and I, we have grown up children. So we've been there. So we have experience, raising kids, and so far our kids are like, I could say I'm very proud of my kids because they grew up here. One of them was born here, but they still have that Filipino culture. So
Yeah, that's
there's
amazing.
nothing wrong with the culture here. We can still adapt to the good ones. We can adapt to them and not necessarily like disregard whatever because we grew up here, right?
Right.
So there's good in every culture. I believe in that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, just pick up the good ones. Yeah, and makes you a better person, right?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Um,
And and also his wife is he just mentioned he is his rock. She is his rock, and
Hmm.
she is really. I see them regularly, and I can see how she takes care of the kids, takes care of Cedric, and I just walk down the street, and I get to see these people, and so and
Well,
they are
yeah.
surrounded by loving grandparents and
Hmm.
family and friends. So it's a really a community of surrounded by. I mean, this family is surrounded by love.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing, having this extended family environment shows them that it's actually what the culture is, right?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
and
we
that
have,
makes it a lot of difference because they are immersed in our culture because you have that kind of setting, right? So yeah, I believe in that too. So I'm so happy to hear about that. We're learning from you, not
yeah,
just
no, and we're learning from each
yeah,
other, and and that's a
yeah.
great point as well. MJ is uh, the family culture, and I work in the healthcare field, and I see this day in day out,
Mhm.
and I can't help but compare, the American society and how different they are with not just Filipino society, but many other
Mhm.
countries and backgrounds. Whereas many countries like the Philippines, they do depend on the village. They do rely on the family. And the truth is, here in America, more often than not, a lot of times they're left alone. And you resort to it's one thing to be in a nursing home and to be in a facility, but it's another thing where sometimes the kids literally don't reach out to the parents anymore. And it's not nothing negative. It's just kind of how they are. So definitely, it's good to bring in a lot of those cultures, to here in the States, because I feel like that makes such a stronger bond with not just the family, but with individually each person.
Yeah, we're known for that. We have the close knit family ties, right? Anyways, I think it's about to move on to we're about to move on to about your business, learning about your business at a
Yeah.
young age of I'm not gonna say your age, of course.
So we want to know how you
Still young.
started. We want to
Yeah,
know how you started in this business.
yeah, you are so young, but tell us about your businesses. I mean, at a young age like you are a very young entrepreneur having like three companies all
Yeah,
at
yeah.
once, right?
So you know, there's some people say there's some luck involved, and I like to say you have to make your own luck, and
Mhm.
you have to you can't just expect it to fall in your lap.
Oh, yes.
I've been in. So just some background for myself. So I graduated with accounting and finance major and master in business administration from the University of St. Thomas
Mhm.
years ago. And when I was 16, while I was still in high school, because at the time we would leave early for high school if you finish so many credits or you're a little bit advanced. So I was able to work, a couple hours at a home care agency back when I was 16, 17 years old. And then when I ended up going to college in St. Thomas when I was 18, I still continued at this home health agency, and Heart Home Healthcare is the name of the agency, and worked in their accounting department and did their accounting and just their books. And it so happened the one of the co-owners, one of the partners, was also one of the co-owners of IPR Healthcare. So I was working there for a couple years and helped, you know, build the business at Heart Home Healthcare and get it to a pretty good position. Then I graduated and actually worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is one of the big four CPA firms, global CPA firms. They call it big four firms, and worked there for a few years. And then after that, I had a small stint at a healthcare insurance company called Universal American. They own Texan Plus and a couple other healthcare insurance companies. Figured healthcare insurance was not really the way that I wanted to go. I didn't really like the insurance world and how it worked. And it just so happened that the partner, one of the partners at Heart Home Healthcare, was also a partner at IPR Healthcare, reached out to me and said, "Hey, uh, one of my partners are retiring, and would you be interested in coming over here and just uh, working your way up?" He didn't say anything about ownership or anything yet, but he knew what I did. He knew I've been working in the sister company since I was about 7-8 years prior to that. So I said, yeah, sure. I'll do that for a little while. So ended up coming to IPR as an accounting manager. I really just started with that, and just got everyone's trust, built trust from everybody, to the point where I'm now one of the partners here and also the operations officer here. So that's how I got around to IPR and home health, and been here since I think 2011, I believe. So 12 years now in IPR, and about 7 years ago or so, I got into the research world. So as I was working at IPR, which is a home health and hospice company, um, my partner also knew this research company that needed some assistance and needed some help. And so I ended up trying to help them out as far as operations and learning the business. I had no knowledge about the clinical research industry whatsoever, but I just was interested in just trying to help the business, help it grow. So kind of got my hands dirty, learned the business, learned the operations. And long story short, I ended up adopting the company. So I'm now the CEO of the company and own the company. And when I started, we had about 4 employees, and we now have about 30 employees. So it's definitely grown substantially since I started. So those are the two main businesses that I have, and then I have one that I'm just starting out right now, which is a health and wellness company, Buhay Health and Wellness. Um, I am a huge proponent of health and exercise. I try to do triathlons. I've done a couple triathlons and Ironman. Trying to do an Ironman again this year, and I realized the importance of keeping your body hydrated. So it's more a need is the reason why I started Boy Health and Wellness, because I figured, well, why pay retail price when I can do this myself? So so we started Boy Health and Wellness, and hopefully getting people to understand the importance of hydration and health and vitamins, and receiving it via IV, intravenous, is actually one of the quickest way to get the most positive reactions. So I think, and we can go into the detail of that later. But that's a quick background of how IPR, MCR, and Boy Health and Wellness got started. So that's a little about myself.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a real hardworking man there.
I see that. I see that. Wow, that's amazing. So your children are set. They're getting married, three corporations, right? Three
Yeah, yeah,
companies.
yeah. They're gonna have to
And
learn how to work for it first.
of course, yeah. So how do you get to, relax and do self-care with all these companies that you have?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the answer to that myself. So,
You
yeah, I
can't.
mean that's the $1 million question, and right now, uh, especially with the young kids, I mean, I want to try to like I said, that's $1 million question. I think I struggle with that, and trying to make sure that I find time with the family, with the boys, with my wife, while at the same time making sure everything's okay at the companies. So, you know, especially post COVID, it definitely helped because now we are able to communicate remotely. So that definitely helps to a certain degree. But there's definitely an aspect of face-to-face interaction that's still required, and you have to be present, for your team. So there has to be that still. But luckily, I have most everything under one roof as far as the office goes. So that definitely helps. And as far as getting things done, but it's a day-to-day, everyday challenge to make sure that I spend enough time for everything that's important.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Tita?
No, I believe you have another office opening in Katy.
Yeah. Well, we're actually going to be subleasing. So one of our colleagues, and also I believe a member as well with the
She's
chamber,
also a member of the chamber.
Dr. Felicity Mack. She's a family practitioner, a physician, and they just opened their location over there in Katy. So we'll be having a satellite site for IPR and MCR, and then we'll also be doing a lot of our IVs from her clinic over there in Katy. Yeah.
Are you hiring? I'm
we're,
I'm a nurse
we're
practitioner, so you can
yes,
hire me.
nurse practitioners. We are definitely looking for nurse practitioners. We're definitely always looking for nurses.
Yeah.
And
We can
anyone
talk
that's good
later
at
then.
starting IVs, we can definitely talk later.
Yeah, I'm a family nurse practitioner. So,
Awesome.
anyway,
Yeah.
so can you talk individually about each company? So, IPR, it's a home
Sure.
health
Yeah.
hospice, right? So,
Yeah.
what
Yeah. So
services do you provide?
Yeah, so IPR Healthcare started back in 1999, and it's a home health company is when it started. Actually, some background information. I'll just go really, really deep over here. IPR actually, before it was a home health company, stood for International Professional Resources. So if you remember back in the 90s, we would, and we still do it today, but not as prevalent as we did before. Um, we were bringing nurses from the Philippines, and we would get them over here, hire them, and have them work, as nurses, and they would pay a fee and whatnot to work over
So,
here.
it started like an agency.
It was agency, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
IPR was International Professional Resources
Mhm.
as a staffing agency, and then of course things kind of slowed down in that world, and the home health market kind of opened up around the same time. So 99 transitioned into a home health company, um, and it was just around that time where um, uh, online banking actually started as well, or started to come about. And around the 90s and early 2000s, we were doing all documentation through paper. You literally write your notes down. You're an
Yes.
NP, so you understand this, MJ. Write all your notes down in documentation. And so nurses would just get carpal tunnel, left and right. So, well, one of our web designers actually, and myself, and actually mainly the administrator and owner at Pabst Kaluskas, they tried on creating the notes and put the nursing notes on a Palm Pilot. If you remember what a Palm Pilot
Mhm.
was
Yes,
back then.
indeed. That was
Yes.
the
Yes. Yes.
So as you can imagine, and you can probably guess, that failed because there are no more Palm Pilots now. But because it was the rise of internet banking, we pitched to CMS and Medicare, hey, can we put these notes online? And that's when the rise, or I guess the inception
EMR.
of EMR, but also HIPAA compliance. HIPAA started. All that started because everything was all PHI. So that all came about, and a company called Kinzer actually was started from IPR. So we actually created our own EHR, EMR for ourselves, and they ended up branching out. Kinzer did, to become a multi-million dollar company,
Wow.
and serve multiple, or hundreds of thousands actually, home health agencies nationwide. And that started here in IPR, and that allowed us to really boost our processes and learn how to really do a good job in taking care of the patients. Patient care is always in the forefront, and now with
Of
the
course.
inception of electronic health records, now we're able to do it faster, more efficient, and in a better manner. And then about 4 years ago, after many calls and requests from our patients and their caregivers, unfortunately, some of our patients declined and would have to roll into hospice. And we didn't have a hospice at the time. So, like I said, after so much request and interest, we ended up or decided to start hospice. So, and again, similar to the research world, and I'll talk about that later. I had no idea what we were going to get into in hospice. I always thought, well, it's similar to home health, except it's for terminally ill patients, and realize just the blessings that hospice can provide for individuals. And that's when I actually realized, even more so, going back to what we were talking about earlier with the culture, the Filipino culture and the family, that a lot of people don't have that here. They don't have that family support. They don't have those. My kids are gonna support me or take care of me when I'm older. We just don't. They just don't have that over here. So we started hospice, and just the
Cedric, before we continue,
yeah, yeah.
before our break, let me read some comments from those watching us. It's
No,
from
sure.
Martina
Yeah.
Trong and Florencio Ginhawa. They're welcoming you to TBT. And
Hello,
uh,
Franzio. Hello. Thank you.
oh yeah, you're showing some love here from the chamber. And I think
No,
we're
good. Thank you.
yeah we'll continue on after a break.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So see you back. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good.
You
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Hello to everyone from Roof Chamber Radio. I'm encouraging all of you to stay here, stay in this chamber. If you want to be inspired, you want to be encouraged, this is where it's at. And we're all going to need this, especially, in this new year that we're in. We don't know what's up for tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen next week or next month. But I believe that when you gather with people who believe in the power, the faithfulness, and the goodness of the Lord Jesus Christ, there is power in that in itself. So stay here. Stay in the Roof Chamber Radio. Be inspired, be encouraged, and let's all go through life, not on our own, and more than just with each other, but let's speak the faith, let's share the faith, let's live by faith, and let's walk by faith. God bless you all, everyone from Roof Chamber Radio.
There you are. Hello, Tita.
And of course, we want to remind everybody that
Yeah.
you are, you are on YouTube and the Facebook channel of Roof Chamber Radio Pinoy. And
Yes.
of
And
course,
let's
our
uh,
guest is Mr. Zedrick Buhay.
let's welcome him back. Hi there, Cedric. That was a
Hello.
short break, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Too short.
Yeah.
I couldn't even use the restroom. I tried.
I know it's not enough time, but yeah, it seems like you have a very, very interesting history here on how you became an entrepreneur. And it looks like IPR had really flourished and, became from one business to another and then more businesses. So that's great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what about your Mercury research?
Yeah, so Mercury, like I said earlier, I was introduced to Mercury to help look into the business and improve some of the operations, and ended up adopting the company and taking over. So coming into MCR, I had zero knowledge of what research was about. I always thought the same thing people always think when you think about, am I going to do a trial or a study, is I'm going to be a lab rat, and what are you going to poke, and what are you going to do to me? And soon I came to quickly find out that it was so much more than that. Research in the clinical trials, and I think people will appreciate this more post COVID. Clinical trials is really what's necessary for any medication, any device, any really anything in the medical field that you can use or take to help improve whatever diagnosis or whatever it is that you're going through. Literally anything that you're taking had to go through clinical trials. And you don't realize that until you really sit down and look into it. And then I never realized the different phases of it. And thinking about the lab rat thing and notion is really a false understanding of what clinical trials and clinical research is about. Just some background. There's quick high level. There's the preclinical phase, which is you're in the lab and in the working with animals and preclinical, and then there's going to be your phase one. Phase one is your first in human trial. Now that I would say that's going to be considered more of your lab rat because it's the first in human. No one knows. We know that it's safe on animals. We know that nothing adverse, no serious adverse reactions or adverse events happen with the animals, but we don't know yet on humans. So phase one, it's still very high risk, still trying to figure out what's going on humans. But after that, after phase one, they still have to go through phase two, and then phase three, and then potentially sometimes phase four. So, and then phase two is going to look at the efficacy of the medication to see is it actually doing a positive good? Is it really making any changes depending on whatever dosage they're having? And then phase three, they're going to compare it. Well, now I'm going to compare it to what's out in the market right now. And then they're going to see, is it going to be more effective compared to Tylenol that we have right now? This new medication is going to be more effective than this. And then sometimes they realize that, wow, this blood pressure pill is actually doing something else to males that they didn't realize. So then they use it to do something else. So very similar to what happened with Viagra.
Like off-label uses, yeah.
Right, off-label, you're right. So then it's going to be phase four. We primarily work on phase two, three, and sometimes four. When people think about the whole lab rat comparison, it really doesn't, for us at least, for MCR, we don't do phase one as much. We do sometimes, but we mainly primarily work on phase two and three, and sometimes four. So it really just looks at what is the right dosage, what is the right tolerance for various individuals. And then it's interesting because you see the advancement of medicine. You really see what's out there. Things right now that's happening, especially with what happened with COVID, mRNA. Being able to utilize the technology with mRNA to treat and to treat other disease processes. Same thing with gene editing. Same thing with stem cell. There's so many new approaches in medicine, and it's such an amazing field. So I was very clueless about any of this,
Now you sound like an expert.
Yeah, I'm just reading.
Wow.
I'm reading from my notes now.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really is an amazing industry, and I just fell in love with that. And I think there's so much more in the research world. There's so much more to improve in the research world. Part of it is no one really goes to school in research. Being upper management CEO of Mercury, I realized that probably 8 out of 10 people that we bring in had no idea what research was. They had no idea how they got into research. They heard from a friend of a friend of a friend, and they said, okay, let's try this job, and then they fell in love with it. Rarely do you see in schools that they have a clinical research program. That's actually something that we're working on right now, very similar to what IPR did with Kinzer, with the EHR system, did something for themselves. We found a need in the last couple of years that, it's really hard to find quality staff members and research coordinators. So we decided, well, if we can't find them, let's just build them ourselves. So we're creating a educational and a very robust training program right now. We're actually in the middle of it right now, to just help ourselves, to make sure that we can turn someone that is research naive into someone that's going to be potentially a good clinical research coordinator. So that's kind of where we're at right now. That's how I got into MCR. and it's a new day every day in research, in the research world, because yesterday, or a couple years ago, it was diabetes, and then last couple years, and probably the next several years, it's COVID, and of course, Alzheimer's is always a big thing right now. So there's
Yes.
so many things that's going on in the research world. It's just amazing.
Hey, Zedrick, one of our um, there's one comment from Rusty Lopez.
Uh-huh.
He says, "Interesting. How do you find your participants
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
human volunteers?" I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting.
that's a great question. So it really depends on the study, because if you're looking for a study that's looking for healthy volunteers, then Facebook, Instagram, it's really easy to get to get participants. But if you're looking for, and let's say, an Alzheimer's study, if we have an Alzheimer's study that we're working on, and it requires someone that has to have a certain score with their scales, with their various levels of Alzheimer's, then you would have to go to, let's say, a neurology clinic, or
Mhm.
work with the population with a
Yeah.
neurologist, to identify patients that can qualify. Because many times these studies require individuals to be washed out of certain medications, or to be on certain medications.
Mhm.
So you would for those studies, you would go to a practice, a physician a database, or a patient database, and identify those patients, accordingly, depending on what that study is looking for. But for other trials, like vaccine trials that's looking for healthy participants, then that's when we go on Facebook, we go on Instagram, and just look for people who's interested in participating in research.
Yeah.
And they are compensated, so participants, volunteers, in trials, they are compensated for their time, and depending on the stage of the or the phase of the clinical trial, like I mentioned a while ago, phase one is definitely the riskiest.
Mhm.
So you definitely see a lot of college kids doing phase one clinical trials. So
Yeah.
Question here from a local listener. How do you protect the privacy of your volunteers?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So every single individual subject, or patient that goes into clinical trials, have to undergo through it, and sign up with their informed consent. And everything that we do is all HIPAA compliant. Everything is through encrypted databases, or encrypted, we call it sources, or e-sources, electronic sources, where we put all their information. But everything is all under our clinical trial management system, which is similar to a EMR or EHR.
Yeah, because patient confidentiality is a big thing in healthcare. So definitely there are processes or systems in place to protect them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what? Wow, look at this. Okay. Yeah. So you have this new research that you're doing.
Yeah. So we right now, we're really big in vaccines, and RSV is really big right now. Obviously, COVID. I don't think I have to mention that. COVID. We've been working with COVID. We were actually one of the biggest, uh, I guess, groups, or study groups, clinics that were working with the treatment trial with Regeneron. So if y'all remember, former President Trump touted getting the Regeneron
Yeah.
treatment. So we were actually part of that study with Regeneron, and we're also working with a number of different pharmaceuticals, or we call them sponsors, or pharmaceutical companies, with the vaccines for COVID. With you name it, we've been working with them as well. Pfizer, Moderna, all those guys. Um, but right now, which I'm actually more excited about, because I don't want to say COVID is a slowing down, but I want to say that, excuse me, other indications, other therapeutic areas are finally starting to pick back up. So,
Mhm.
and Alzheimer's never went away.
Oh
So
yeah.
getting that up and
Mhm.
going, I'm really excited about. And there's a lot of positive movements with various other drugs that are used for other indications like diabetes, that's actually making a lot of progress with Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of movement there, and same thing with the vaccine world, the mRNA world. There's a lot of movement in various therapeutic areas right now.
So your clinical research is actually getting bigger and bigger too, huh?
Yeah. It is. It is.
Yeah.
We're looking for. We're trying to expand to more sites. Trying to work with more sites around Houston. In the research world, you want to have a diverse population or a diverse source of studies.
Mhm.
You don't want to just focus on COVID because you know COVID will eventually slow down and then other things will pick back up. So we're strong in the pediatric world. We're strong in the CNS world or
Mhm.
central nervous system world. We're
Yeah.
strong, in various therapeutic areas, just so that whenever something slows down, we always have other areas that we can work with.
Oh.
You sound more like a doctor than
I know, right?
a finance
You
guy.
sound very clinician. I'm not kidding. You sound like a clinician now. So you are an accountant business and all that turned into a clinician, master clinician.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
If you need some volunteers, we can recruit from the chamber.
yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah,
You,
yeah,
And
you
if you
start,
if you need employees, I'm right here.
yeah. That's the
Right.
second time
we
you
have
said
we
that.
have some in the chamber who may be interested.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we work right now. The device studies that are we're working with right now for RSV, we have a device that we're working with for strep throat.
Mhm.
So, if you ever feel sick, if you ever have a sore throat, might as well go to the clinic and check out this test. Why not get compensated for it?
That's right. Well, I don't have a sore throat, but I have a runny nose. Do you have something for
Yeah.
that? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Anyway, what about the Buhay wellness? This is something that, oh my gosh, wellness is always going to be there because people, I don't know, but the population just gets sicker and sicker and sicker because we don't take care of our well-being, right?
And you mentioned sicker and sicker and sicker. So, right now we don't really have a good healthcare system. We have
Mm-hmm.
a sick care system.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we take care of people when they get sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel
Yes.
like a good healthcare system keeps you healthy.
Yeah,
And
preventive medicine.
preventative medicine, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, that's really, and I feel bad because I wish I had more time to really push on this, and I just haven't. Um, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I try to myself individually try to keep myself healthy. I try to run often, exercise here and there. I've done triathlons, I've done bike races and swimming, and it,
Snowboarding.
it's yes, snowboarding. Thank you, Tita Tess, for bringing that up. Probably should do less of that to help my back a little bit. But it makes you realize, the importance of staying healthy. And because of those various endurance type sports, I realized that hydration is a very key component of that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we can all drink as much water as we can drink, but it's hard to absorb all the vitamins that you really need as quick as possible, especially if you're someone that's always on the go. So that's why I started Boy Health and Wellness, because I wanted to really push the health side, just everyone, like you said, MJ, preventative health, and staying hydrated is really one of the easiest things that you can do to make sure your immune system is strong enough to combat the things that's out there, RSV, COVID, flu, and all that. So um, that's really why I started Boy Health and Wellness. And I figured that because I kind of know how the home care logistical process works. I figure why not do this for IVs for people who just want to stay healthy. So really, I did this for my own personal reasons, and just to make sure that people who want to be healthy like myself, who want to stay hydrated, can easily get someone to do an IV to go to their home and start an IV, and you know it works for many other reasons too. I mean, I've heard from the grapevine that people who drink a lot of alcohol can benefit from this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So after
Yeah.
they after
Yes,
after
because they
they
look like
drink.
alcohol is like a diuretic.
Exactly, exactly. So
So
after
they
they
need
drink so
the
much,
rehydration,
exactly,
So
and they
it's
can.
mainly like infusion services, looks like. So you do hydration via intravenously and
That's correct.
also like vitamins and all
Right,
that.
right.
Okay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
So
exactly.
we can say, let's drink and be merry, for tomorrow we shall hydrate.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes,
that's it. That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's the way to put it, Tita Tess. That was yeah. But with I don't
Cheers.
know, but wellness or health, I mean, it's a struggle, especially for aging, the aging population like me. I feel like I'm aging.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
You know,
and
'cause- yeah.
hydration really plays a big part of that. If you stay hydrated, it really slows down the aging process. And I can go into a whole rabbit hole talking about aging and anti-aging, but maybe that's another podcast.
Hey,
Wow.
I want to see a sample of that hydrating IV. Let's have a hydration party
Oh yeah, we can definitely do that.
after a
Yeah,
party.
Vitamin
yeah.
C
Hydration party after mahjong.
and yeah, we probably need to have that. Like it's not just vitamins and all that, vitamin C, vitamin B12 and glutathione. It's very
Yeah, yeah. Glutathione is very, very important, not just for your liver, but apparently for your skin color.
yes, yes, and to prevent aging and all that. I know. I do IV, not infusion, but my friend usually sticks me for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've never tried that, and there's always
Yeah.
fun time.
And if you go
yeah.
to the Philippines, I'm not kidding. There's like in every mall, in every they're offering that kind of service. You
Oh
stay
yeah.
there, you have
Mhm.
like series of infusions they give
Yeah.
you because you know how Filipinos are vain about their beauty.
Reading about their
Yeah,
veins.
Yeah, so but it's yeah, of course the health part of it is really what matters.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because yeah, we take vitamin C every day where we have but it's not absorbed as much when
Mm,
or as well when it goes straight to your system, right?
right. Hmm.
Let's
So
continue our hydration in a minute after a
yeah,
short break.
okay.
All right.
Hi, we are so pleased to be with you. Thank you for being with us. We want to invite you to be part of the Difusión Latina, Portal de Fe. We are the Spanish ministry of Roof Chamber Radio, and we are so blessed to be with these guys all around the world. Please be with us on YouTube and Facebook. We would love very much to know how God is blessing you. And please come along and support us. God bless you and see you then.
We're back.
Welcome back.
All right.
Wow, it's I can't believe we're almost towards the end of the show. There's just so much to learn from you, Cedric.
Oh, likewise, y'all too. But
Yeah,
yeah, time has been flying by.
yes, it has indeed.
And
And
I think Cedric was a bit nervous about, Tita, what are we going to talk about? I told him it's just going to be a conversation among friends. So
yeah, and you just
probably do it.
you rock it, right? You rock it. We don't even have enough time to talk about you and your business and all that. So maybe we will have to have another show,
Yeah, yeah.
part
That'd
two.
be great. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Maybe with IVs.
Yes, yes.
I would be your first chamber clinical trial and see.
Volunteer. First volunteer.
At least I know that is very safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what can you advise our viewers? I know it's good to have a profession like a job, a stable job and all that, but it looks like you are in the entrepreneur world where you are your own boss. You don't have to get up like certain time of the day and be there certain. I know you work hard as a CEO because having three companies that's different from just having one. But for the young population out there who are inspiring to be or aspiring to be somebody other than what they are now, what can you tell them or what are your words of advice for the people, not just the young population, even to me. I mean, I'm on my 50s and I probably want to venture into something too, just like what you did. So
Hmm.
what can you
Yeah. I
help?
mean, really, um, don't be afraid. You know, always going to be a challenge, no matter what you do. But the one thing or the worst thing that you can do is nothing. You know,
Or don't
so
try at all.
don't try it all, right?
Yeah.
So really go for it. You know, whatever it is that you want to do, go for it. Um, you know, I'm not saying you know, bet all your marbles on one thing or anything like that. You have to be strategic. You have to make sure that you have a calculated risk, but at the same time, you have to do something because many people, I think, especially nowadays, they get complacent and they're content with where they're at. And if you are, you know, so be it. That's perfectly fine. But it's for those people, for those individuals who are wanting to do more. If you are really saying you want to do more, then do it. You know, then actually do it. You know, it's one thing to talk the talk, but you have to walk the walk. So for those that really want to do more, then you know, I would say go ahead and try it because that's you know, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work. You are, you know, you're not going to be together with the crowd, and you have to accept that. And you know, I actually in my me personally, I appreciate not being with the crowd. You know, I appreciate being the one that's an outlier, being the one that, you know, is different. And I could be dead wrong. I could be absolutely wrong, but I'll own up to it. You know,
Mhm.
or you could be absolutely right, and then you'll be one of the million. You know, so that's what I would say for anybody.
Well, you are a trailblazer.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for
You
sure.
try.
You truly are. You are, and you have a very good story. And that's the purpose of our show. We feature our members to inspire other people to make an impact to the community, let alone just in our chamber. We are watching you and we are learning so much from you already. And wisdom, it doesn't come with age. There are some people like you, younger than we are, but you have so much wisdom to share. So we're just so blessed to have you tonight. So we really, really appreciate your time. And so, how would people be able to contact you, or if they have any questions or inquiries regarding your business or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. I think the best way to contact me is via email. You know, just shoot me an email, and I can send you my information, and you know, set up some time to talk. I'm pretty open and when I can chat, and we can always talk 24/7. But shoot me an email if you have any questions. Anyone that's been listening or listening now or listening later, definitely just shoot me an email, and I'll circle back with you. And before we end, I also want to say, you know, MJ and Tita Tess, it's individuals like yourself also. You know, I learn from the wisdom from everybody. You know, so it's thank you guys for everything as well.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks
the
so
young
much.
and the old, we have every chance and opportunity to learn from each other.
Yes,
Okay?
and don't forget, okay, you go by Tita Tess' house to have dinner. Right? I wish I'm close by so I can join y'all.
Yes, that's one of
Right?
the luxuries that we have.
I know. I wish I live close by Tita Tess because she cooks really good. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
before we say goodbye, before we forget about what we do at the chamber, we have a program for this month, and this is related to your wellness business.
Uh-huh.
We have a Tai Chi uh, this Saturday at from 11 to 1 at the McGovern Centennial Gardens at the Herman Park. So for those interested, you can come join us.
Yeah, it's a
It's gonna
great
be
place to
fun.
do Tai Chi. That's a beautiful place, beautiful
Oh
park.
yes,
Yes,
yeah.
and actually this is a fundraising for the chamber, okay? Because we have like services, donations we send to the Philippines during calamities and all that. So whatever we raise from these activities, we put it in that fund.
And
Also,
also we have a convention coming up, and that's
yeah.
the COFAC convention, celebrating women,
Also the
inspiring
quick. Yeah.
change.
So there are two events that we are promoting for tonight. One is the Celebrating Women Inspiring Change, March 18th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we encourage everybody to join us. Let's go, women, women power, right, Tita Tess?
Of course.
Yeah.
Women.
And here you
And
go.
then we power up for the COFAC Houston Convention. That is on May 31st to June 3rd at the Houston Marriott West Chase.
Yeah, and this is like a very big convention. It's going to be attended nationally. Like there are people from different states that are going to be attending this one. So it's a packed activity, and there's going to be a gala and all that. So for those of you who are interested on attending this, just watch out for more announcements and advertisements about this.
Or you can go directly to cofac.org.
Yes. Yes. Anything else that you would like to share, Cedric?
No, that was great. Again, I appreciate you guys having me, and appreciate y'all, everything that y'all do for the companies and the Filipino community around Houston. It's a great thing that y'all are doing, and hope that we can just keep building from here.
And it's really
Yeah.
inspiring to hear Zedrick because uh, at a young age, he is now a CEO of 3 companies, and it is it is encouraging for the younger generation or those who are uh, looking up to becoming a Zedrick Buhay. Well, mabuhay, here he is.
Buhay ka, Cedric. Yeah. That's all about drive, right? And if you want to achieve something greater than what you have right now, you just have to go for it and
And
don't
work hard
quit.
and work hard.
And work hard and never quit, right?
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
yeah, I myself, I'm on my 50s, and I feel like there's still something that I can do better,
Oh,
that I can
absolutely. Yeah,
achieve. And age doesn't matter.
yeah.
I
Hey,
like I like
remember, we can become his clinical trial. We can join in his clinical trial.
yeah, or clinical business. No, I have to have a job, Tita. You're okay because you're enjoying your retirement.
Nah,
Mahjong. She's
my,
enjoying her mahjong.
Yes, and I still have to earn. So I well, maybe he's gonna hire me, right?
Yeah,
As one of his
let's
absolutely.
not
employees.
forget to invite those interested to join the chamber
Oh yes, yes.
and contact to one of us or just go to our website, PACC Texas, Houston, I mean, Greater Houston region. We have different regions here in Texas. We have Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, uh, RGV, the Rio Grande Valley, and
Austin, right?
also Austin, the baby chamber that we have, the
Yeah, the
youngest
newest one.
chamber for PACC, and that's Texas. And Cedric, thank you very much for joining us, and we shall chat with you in the future.
Yeah,
There's so much
absolutely.
more to learn from you.
Absolutely.
Yes,
That'd be
and
great. I love that.
to all our viewers, thank you again for joining us tonight. And don't forget, our show airs on or every second and fourth Thursday of the month from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this show is brought to you by Roof Chamber Radio Pinoy and, of course, PACC Texas Greater Houston Region. So thank you again. Good night, everyone. And
Good
thank you,
night.
Cedric.
All right. Thank you. Good
Thanks,
night.
Tess. See
Bye-bye.
Thank
you.
you. Good
Yeah.
night.
I'm gonna drive to your place.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mabuhay.
Bye-bye. Mabuhay.
Mabuhay, everyone.